Hello and welcome back to me telling you what to do. And welcome to the follow-up of one of my previous videos where I discussed some suggestions for clients on what they should do when they're preparing to approach an artist for a commission. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking directly to the artists where I give you some suggestions and advice for what to do when you start taking commissions. Since at some point many artists want to make some kind of profit or some kind of money off their work, and commissions is just the most natural and most common way of doing that. And mind you, while some of this can be applied to other types of artists, this is most directly targeted at digital artists since that's what I'm most familiar with, and that's literally what I am. Ooh, shocker, I know. But yeah, I'm gonna keep this intro short and sweet. There isn't that much to say. So we'll get into step 1 on what you should do before you really set anything up officially. And that is deciding what it is you're gonna offer. So in the grand scheme of things, there are a lot of things that a digital artist can offer in the style of their work. Most often it's stuff like casual drawings of characters, there's more icon specific things. There's talking commissions, people make emotes, some people design Twitch or streaming overlays. There are a lot of things that you can do with digital art and a lot of different things that you can offer in specific categories for different types of people. So it's best to decide which of those things or other things you plan to offer and what it is you want people to buy. I will highly suggest looking at what other artists are offering to try and get some idea or some inspiration of what you think you can make for other people. And always make sure it's something that you actually enjoy making, as receiving commissions for something you don't like to draw or something you're not having any fun drawing, it just ends up being like a miserable experience. You do not want to end up in that kind of situation where you just don't like drawing, because something like that can damage your overall passion for drawing as a whole. So yeah, you do not want that. So quickly make a list of these things, consider them twice, 3 times, just look them over, really strongly consider whether you want to make them or not. It is okay to start small with a short list, basic stuff, and go larger as your art business grows. But it's always alright to start small. I actually do suggest you start small, because taking up too much too quickly is gonna burn you out in seconds. And doing all those commissions and all that kind of stuff is just not gonna be too great for you. So yeah, be careful with how much you're picking up. Always consider whether or not you'll be able to complete these commissions if or when you receive them. And just, keep yourself in check, prioritize your own health with this kind of stuff, because some people can overwhelm themselves with either taking too many commissions or taking commissions they don't like. So consider everything for the best of you. Yeah, do not bend yourself backwards over this kind of stuff. And if there is something that you want to eventually plan to offer, at least do some practice of drawing that thing before you start offering it. Because that way you get a better taste of this is the amount of effort, this is how much time it takes to make this sort of thing. And that will help you decide whether or not you actually want to offer it as a commission. And it will also help you in the pricing process when you try and figure out how much would I charge, for this effort, for this time, for this product. Because pricing is also very important. And speaking of pricing is definitely one thing a lot of artists struggle with. Especially a lot of younger artists who are scared of overpricing themselves, thinking that nobody's going to commission them for a higher price. And I've actually noticed that is kind of an issue when small artists are seriously underselling themselves. I understand starting small. It's okay to start small. I started small with my prices especially. And the best advice I can give for general progression of how you price things is that as the quality of your art improves and the demand for it increases, I would suggest steadily raising your prices to equal the more time is taken for you to finish your art. That is something I've done with my own commissions, and I've been successful either way, where I've had people buy at the lower end. I've made those commissions, I put them up as a gallery as an example of that commission type. But then even when I started raising the price, there were still a lot of people willing to buy my commissions, which I'm really lucky to have those kind of people seeing my stuff and being willing to pay for it, and those higher prices were better compensating me for what I was making. Yet some tips on trying to price your work, that the biggest teller is just to determine how long it takes you to make or how easy or difficult your style is to draw in. Because I know a lot of us either have some super complicated style that takes us forever to make, or some of us have a super simplistic style that has much time to make. Both are great, both are awesome. A lot of people just have their own styles in between both of those. So prices and pricing is going to vary a lot. But I would just say truly examine the stuff that you're making and the style that you make it in. How much would you like to be paid for that? And even if you think your art isn't worth that much, I will still say go higher, dog. Go higher, because most of the time when people say their art isn't worth that much, it definitely is. Like, I know my initial prices were based on like an hourly rate that I would work a regular job for. Like, one internship I had where I was paid around $15 an hour. I made that number like the absolute minimum that my prices would go. And that's where I believe my prices used to be for some of my commissions. But as I said, the more demand your art gets and the more it improves, you can put the number higher. And I have put mine higher. So I would say have some kind of baseline like that when you're ready to start taking commissions. And of course this is highly dependent on the currency you're working with. But just make sure whatever you're selling really works for you. And that you really feel like you're actually being compensated for all the effort you're putting into a piece. You deserve being compensated for your work. Never undersell yourself. Ever. And finally, moving on from freaking pricing, there is setting up a commission sheet. Setting up a commission sheet is like one of the most important things you have to do as an artist taking commissions. Because if you have a bad comm sheet, it could be off-putting to some possible clients who may avoid working with you if they can't read what your commission sheet says or whatever is on it. It's hard to make out. So keep shit organized, okay? Make sure to have the prices and details attached to the image with an example of what that price covers. This is what most basic commission sheets have, and it really pays to have that kind of stuff perfectly laid out. I will try to show the one I've made on screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about, where you clearly include the name of what the commission would be called, how much the person would have to pay for that kind of commission, and a visual example of what that commission style would look like. So a client would have to go searching through your account to try and find something. They can just look at that one post, that one sheet, and get what they need. And not only do you have to keep the commission sheet itself organized, you have to make it easy to find, because who's gonna commission you if they can't find your commission sheet? So I would say for most platforms, you can have a pinned post, a highlighted story, or something like that, where you can put your commission sheet up in a permanent place where people can very easily find it. And have your commission sheet clearly labeled as your commission sheet, because sometimes it can be mistaken as some regular text post if it isn't labeled properly, and people just might scroll past it not realizing what it was. So clearly label your commission sheet as a commission sheet. Make it somewhere easy or simple to find as a pinned post or a highlighted story, highlighted posts on whatever platform you're using. As I said, keep whatever is on that sheet clearly formatted and very easy to read. Like, do not use crazy colors. Because most of the time when you use crazy colors, it makes it hard to read. It makes it hard to look, not even just read, it's hard to look at sometimes. So be careful what colors you're using. And don't make it seem tedious to try and read your commission sheet. That will not help you in the long run. And along with your commission sheet, I will suggest including at least some sort of TOS. Even if it's like some short basic thing where you can't draw or do not want to draw, like that works. It doesn't have to be some long 10-page contract that the client has to like look over and read, because I'll be honest, a lot of people, they just don't like having to read these long forms of text trying to commission somebody. So while I've seen some artists have fairly long TOS pages, just try to keep it short and sweet. Don't over explain things, don't over complicate things in your TOS. Just make it short, sweet, and like to the point. Next, on your commission sheet or somewhere in your TOS, include the forms of payment that you accept for your commission, because not everybody's gonna have the same payment options as you, and you're not gonna have the same payment options as them. So clearly list what payment forms you take. As I said earlier, some people take non-currency forms of payment, so be sure to list those if you take those. And if you do take like a regular currency payment, be sure to list whatever apps or website you use to transfer that money. Just make sure that kind of stuff is clearly laid out for your possible clients to, save yourself some time, save them some time, and so the client knows what they should have before approaching you. It's not even just the pricing. In your TOS, you can also mention what a client should or shouldn't have when they're coming to you for a commission. Like, for example, with my TOS, I more often require somebody to approach me with some kind of reference sheet or some kind of reference images of what it is they're looking for. What pose do they want? What expression do they want? A reference sheet of what the character they want looks like, what the person they want drawn. Your clients will approach you with that kind of stuff. I also do the same thing. Just make both of your lives easier. A lot easier. Also, personally, I would suggest that when it comes to payment, try to find some middleman website that allows you to host your commissions and accept payments and be able to talk with your client so that it's all in one place. And so the payments you receive are like more secure. Since some people might try and contact you about commission, pretend they paid you by faking a screenshot or something. And some people who may like fall for the screenshot, which again I would assume are younger artists who don't have as much experience with like scammers trying to get art off of you for free. I would suggest having some place like that's Fiverr where you can keep all your payments and all your commissions intact and organized and have a more secure way of dealing with that process. And step 4, how to work with clients. Artists, do not take people's shit, because if someone is being like openly rude or dismissing of you and or your work while they're simultaneously trying to commission you, do not take the commission. I promise you there are like so much better people to work with who actually value your work and make your efforts feel like appreciated. So if somebody's being blatantly demanding and not appreciative of all the effort you're putting into your commission, I would not suggest working with them, especially if they're showing signs of being rude from the get-go. Because at some point, once you've encountered enough people, you start to realize that kind of stuff early on, and you learn to avoid and end the conversation as soon as possible because you just sense that it's not going to be a good commission experience. You're not going to enjoy making that order. So, be wary of those kind of people trying to be rude for you for like no reason. And again, even if they're giving you money, it is just not worth dealing with somebody so unreasonable, alright? It's just not worth it at all. So to try and avoid this, you have to know 2 things. Know when to say no to a possible client and how to be like communicative with your feelings towards this client. Like if they're being openly rude to you and you feel like they're being really rude to you, you should at least bring it to attention like, hey, you really shouldn't be talking to me this way because I may just outright reject your commission because I'd rather not deal with this throughout an entire order. And if they're like, oh, I apologize, I didn't know I was coming off that way, I didn't really mean to sound rude, like, okay, you can talk that out. Maybe you misinterpreted the way they said it or what they said, then you can go on with the commission. But no, if you try to like convey those emotions to them and they're like doubling down on their rudeness, nah, you're out. Get out. Get out of there. Most of the time, you don't even have to respond to people being outright rude to you. Like they're not owed a response, especially when they're being like that to you. Like nobody deserves to be treated like that for their work. So if they're being rude to you and they're persistent about it, get out. Get out of this. Especially if the commission hasn't started yet, get out. But if the commission has already started, it is more complicated because you can't exactly ghost somebody whose commission you've already started and they've already paid in full for. Because either if you're willing, you can provide at least a partial refund for the work that's already been done if a client shows to be really rude, or you may have to push through it if you've already accepted the commission and it's already been started and they're already paid. And if you're in that situation, just finish the commission as soon as possible so you no longer have to talk to that person anymore. Hell, I would even suggest blocking them right after you send the final piece. Because if that person is going to be rude to you this one time during a commission order, what's it worth allowing them to contact you again? Not worth your time at all. And sort of on that note, for general commissions, I would suggest not ghosting people. Because while yes, artists, we still have lives, we still have stuff to do outside of making art, some stuff that may delay a commission from being finished, don't ghost your clients because that does make you look more untrustworthy to them and like make them less likely to return to you for future commissions. So if a client is contacting you about finishing a commission, now I don't mean if they're like rushing you, like they're texting you like every goddamn hour or something, but I mean if they're like regularly checking up like every like few days, at least try to provide like some update or like be communicative, like, oh, this like personal thing. You don't gotta tell them what it is specifically. Of course not. You're not owed them that. You're like, oh, there's something personal emergency that's keeping me from finishing this. And like if they're understanding, be like, oh, okay, I got you. And if they're like asking any questions like when do you think it can be done, you can still say like, oh, you're not sure, but I can give you like some kind of estimate. Like it's good to give them some kind of estimate and you try to follow the estimate the most you can. Especially since while a lot of clients are very understanding and very kind, it can get a little irritating when you're constantly told over and over, like, I'll get it done by this time, I'll get it done by this time, I'll get it done by this time. And just getting pushed back and further and further and further. And it starts to take forever to get the commission done. So, yes. And this is especially even more causes issues when the client provides you at least some kind of reasonable deadline. Like you to discuss a deadline that you can get the work done by. But then you keep missing that deadline that both of you set. Like that kind of stuff just loses trust in this business. It doesn't create repeat buyers. It doesn't create like loyal buyers. So it's much better to try and work with the time you have and to just try and get your stuff done as soon as possible so you don't have to worry about it later. Especially when some emergency comes up, I will say try and work on a commission as soon as possible so that if something does come up, it doesn't delay the commission by too much, or the commission would already be done by the time that emergency hit. Like I've had that a few times where I had a commission like in the works, then something would come up that will that will keep me from working, and I would already have most of the commission done. So by the time I have to get back to it, I would be a lot closer to the deadline, but there's a lot less of the commission to be done. So it's like almost finished and I can send it over soon. You'll see the other video, it's all about being organized and having a smooth process to make stuff better for both you and the client and makes everybody happy. So yeah, manage your time wisely, work on your commissions whenever you can and get them done as soon as possible and just get them out of the way. And plus that way, getting commissions done sooner can allow you to finish any other commissions you already have like in waiting, since a lot of artists have like some kind of like queue, wait list or whatever of people waiting to commission, or people who have commissions that are still waiting. Having like good time management skills just helps you get through that list real quick. You don't have to worry about them anymore. You just work on like your own stuff or whatever. Yeah. Also, going back a bit on working with clients, there are some things you should look out for in a client that may seem like suspicious, like other than them being just outright rude to you. Like one suspicious tactic that some people try to use is asking for some kind of demo or sketch before they've placed an order or before they send you the money. Because if you think 9 times out of 10, they will either take that sketch and send it to another artist or do it for themselves and block you. Or they'll make you try and complete some part of the commission before they sent the money and then block you once you send it. Do not do this. Do not do anything for free or before anyone sends you money. Like as an artist, you need to be strict with your payments, because some clients will try to haggle you out of your money and will try to like take your stuff without them paying, because it's online, it's the internet. There's no way for you to like physically contact them in any way. You just have like whatever account they use. And then if they block you and you don't know any other accounts, there's not much you can do. There is not much you can do. Oh, and be wary of people who try to use the excuse that some other artist is offering something for less, and so therefore you should also send it for less. Ignore those people. Ignore them. Because if that other artist is selling for less and they want their prices, just tell that person to go to that artist. That's always one of the strangest excuses I've ever seen for a scammer. Like, oh, this artist is like selling it for this price, also yours shouldn't be that high. Like, no, you keep your prices exactly where they are, while that artist has their prices where they are. And so the client should be going to that person if they want those prices, because again, they're trying to undersell you and they're trying to scam you. There are a lot of like scummy people out there trying to do that kind of stuff, so be careful with whoever's contacting you. Like, always examine what the person's doing, like what kind of behavior they have as they're talking to you. And if you can already sense at the beginning, like, oh, this person's gonna be like a pain to work with, they already like trying to undervalue me, they're trying to like rush me, trying to be like super demanding with what they want, skip them. Go to another commissioner, go to other people, or just not take their commission. Especially if you can afford to skip that commission. Like if you have other people also waiting, hell, even if you don't have other people waiting, I would say skip them. Probably the only instance somebody will end up having to take a commission like that, where they're getting paid by somebody who's rude, is somebody who's like taking emergency commissions where they're in like a dire situation that they seriously need money for. And I honestly feel sorry that there's people who like have to take commissions like that just because they borderline don't have a choice. Unless you're in that situation, if you're outside of that situation, like you have like the privilege of being able to like skip that commission. So if you're able to, I would say do it. I'm so serious. It's not no. And last but certainly not least, what to do after you've taken your commission and after the commission has finished and you've already like delivered it to your client. At this stage, after the commissioning process, you should focus some effort on promoting your commissions and putting them out there, most commonly by posting your finished commissions if you have permission by the client to, because some clients may approach you with some kind of NDA. And I mean you like a proper NDA, not them just telling you that, oh, you can't post this, it's private. Unless a client approaches you with an official NDA that you signed, I will say try and post that commission to your social medias for other people to see as an example of what your commissions look like and what it is like to like commission you. That way you not only have like more art for you to post and for people to see, but you know, you bring more traction and bring more attention to the fact that you have commissions open. I personally like doing this because I get to showcase all the work I'm doing like behind the scenes when I'm not working on like my regular art, and I get to show it out there to like whoever's watching. And yeah, that's essentially all for today's video. This video actually wasn't as scripted as my other one, but you know, it still worked out. So thank you for watching my second video in this like art advice-ish series, and I hope you guys like any like follow-up videos. Like if you have any suggestions for future videos that I should make, be sure to comment them below, and if there was anything that I missed, be sure to include that as well so I can adjust how I talk about these things in future videos.